Mike, we just did a segment with Penn State talking about O'Brien, and I've got to talk about Alabama here with you. They've won 3 national titles in 4 years, and they've got a coach named Nick Saban. We'll get into him a little bit more, but they're trying to build this at Penn State, and I think what you need to be looking at is what Alabama's doing. You want to be like Alabama. So we've got to talk about Alabama and what they're doing right. And it's not just Alabama. I think it's the whole conference they're in that makes it so competitive. But these guys are obviously the cream of the crop. It's amazing what they've done. And we're going to get into this a little bit more. It looks like this. It's only going to get better with what's coming. I think the buzz with recruiting, they've got better recruits coming now because of what they've done the last 3-4 years.
They only have 9 seniors on Alabama's football team.
So now, I don't think this is done.
They are going to have a number of non-seniors turn pro, so that's part of the story too. But
you almost need, Mike, for these younger guys that are coming to get a good recruit. You almost have to.
Yeah, there has to be some. Yeah, you're right, and I mean, they are going to be. They may be the most obvious preseason number 1 in the history of college football next August. It's unbelievable what he's been able to do, and it's not so much. They're not out scheming anybody so much. They're better attention to detail, better player development, better constant level of motivation. We talk about this 40-day layoff between the end of the regular season and the bowl games, which is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
It is ridiculous, and it probably affected Notre Dame last night a little bit. Well, does it ever affect Alabama? I mean, Alabama has had a couple of trap spots in the regular season in the last couple of years where they've struggled a little bit. Certainly coming off of LSU and losing to Texas A&M this year would be an example of that. But this bowl game, this preparation, they cruise over that hurdle. I mean it's they are state of the art right now and probably as good as anybody has ever been in terms of dominance over an extended period of time. Yeah, maybe you go back to Notre Dame in the 30s or something like that, but.
Notre Dame in the 40s put together 3 and 4 years, and then they bring up Nebraska in the 90s, which I still want to take one away. In 1994, Penn State didn't get to play them. I really like to have seen what would happen
there. Yeah, and they weren't. They
gave the first one to O'Brien or to Osborne. After that, the next 2 maybe he deserved.
They were never this dominant.
And they said, I guess the third one that Nebraska won, they didn't get to play Michigan when they split that one.
Yeah.
Oh, and Brent Musburg says, I would like to have seen them play Michigan. How about play Penn State's team? That was all those pros Penn State put out there. Well, Alabama won the title 2 years ago with their defense. This year they won it. And the defense was good, don't get me wrong, but that offense, they were balanced. It was a 264 on the ground, 265 passing.
Yep.
And the offensive line, I think, more than anything, won this game.
Yeah.
They look like I think they got 5 pros across there, and they're scary good. The Philadelphia Eagles could just take that line right now and be in the playoffs.
The single biggest reason why Notre Dame was undefeated was their defensive front 7 was able to dominate games. Even against a team as good as Stanford, which I think we all agree was a top 10 team. You thought, well, I thought Alabama would win because Notre Dame's not going to be able to dominate that offensive line. But I didn't think that offensive line would dominate that front 7. It was ridiculous. If you watch this game in the first half, I didn't even watch too much of it. In fact, I tweeted, "It's time for 2 broke girls, America." That's how it was. And Twitter actually got very amusing last night because people had kind of given up on the game and went to comedy. So. It's amazing what they've been able to do, and even in the context of the SEC, which is a whole other story, but they're just better than everybody else, including the teams in their own league right now.
I'll tell you how bad it got with me. I went soft. I just tuned out the game and put on an episode of Downton Abbey and watched with my wife.
Oh, so, you're very culturally dialed in, Starkey.
I guess. It was more entertaining, I'll put it that way. Top recruits are now going to Alabama. We've got one from Pennsylvania, Western PA, a wide receiver that's heading out that way. We're talking 5-star guy. That's what they're starting to recruit. Nick Saban did that before. I said we're going to bring up his name. I'm not a huge fan because when Jeff Smoker was there at Michigan State, he just up and left. Did the same thing at LSU. He seemed to run out of Miami Dolphins. The guy has a track record of this, yet he attracts jobs, and it's because he usually turns programs around. Alabama has a rich history, beat right up Bear Bryant and so forth, but Nick Saban's got
they have a rich history. They have a rich history, but people think Alabama's always good. No, look up the record. When Mike Shula was coaching there, right before Saban got there, they were not. I think Saban's first 2 winning seasons were the first 2 winning seasons back to back in a while in Alabama.
Probably since Gene Stallings had been there.
I'm telling you, I think for a long time this guy was seen as a defensive guru, one of the best guys in the profession, but he's going to another level now. There's almost a Phil Jackson aspect to this, where he is able to motivate these super talented kids. He shows video of Michael Jordan and Mariano Rivera to them, and talks about focus on having these blinders on and attention to detail and on and on and on. There, in addition to sort of the football technocrat thing, there's almost a Phil Jackson motivator aspect.
So besides the whole Roll Tide, there's also a Zen-like feature going on down there in Alabama.
Zen. Well, I didn't sense a lot of that when I was actually in Tuscaloosa. I didn't sense a lot of Zen aspect there, but a whole lot of Roll Tide.
They mixed it in with the moonshine, maybe.
There you go.